What does it mean to live life to the fullest, train to your potential, and perform at your best?
Leave nothing on the table. That's a non-negotiable, is that I strive to be better every day. Because if I'm not on top of my game, how is anybody else going to follow me down the road?
Keep demanding more of yourself to live up to that potential and to stay hungry.
Training is progress. You know, when I look at the word training, I think of steps, baby steps to get somewhere that you want to be. And that is basically your life journey.
It's a mindset in itself, man. It's like, it's not just about, I know that for you, a lot of that's about the physical, but we're constantly in training, whether it's growing our skill sets, whether it's growing our physical bodies, whether it's growing our relationships, whatever. And all of that's a training ground. And that kind of goes back to the mindset that we just talked about.
You underestimate yourself and you don't even start. But then once you start, you often surpass what you thought you could do.
Perform at your best, mate. That's sort of what life is all about. You know, I want to have the knowledge, I want to have the fitness, the health, the ambition and drive that no matter what comes along, when that next phone call comes, I can just say yes. I don't have to worry. Just go and do it.
Hey guys, welcome to this Coach's Corner episode with my man Adrian Allen. This is a 90-minute conversation that I'm going to break up into 3 installments. This first installment is where we dive into Adrian's time in Thailand and then the transition from Thailand to Bali to where he is now in Perth, and the different mindsets and coaching styles that he had to adopt when dealing with those different locations, different demographics, and different groups of people. Let's get this episode underway. Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of the Live, Train, Perform podcast. I'm your host, Shaun Kober, and joining me today is my man, Adrian Allen. Welcome to the episode, Adrian. How are you, mate?
Cheers, Shaun. Doing very well. I'm lucky enough to be based here in Perth, in Australia. You know Australia well, I'm sure.
Love it, mate.
I'm in that isolated part of the world that they call Perth City, which, you know, we've been very fortunate here the last couple of months, considering everything that's gone on. I think people are kind of grateful they live in Perth City now and not on the other side of the country. So yeah, I've been back here now with the last couple of months, which has been a great learning curve. Obviously, we were throwing a curveball halfway or at the start of the year, but I presume it's how we've dealt with it and how we've grown through that situation that has been the best part for me, certainly.
Yeah, man, you're clearly not Australian, so why don't you give my listeners a little bit of an introduction to yourself and how you ended up in Australia. Just give me like a 5-minute brief overview of basically your life, and then we'll dive into some of those things.
Yeah, so technically, yes, I am Australian. I do have the passport, but obviously there is this accent that kind of overshadows that part, and
you're probably more Australian than me at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Ireland, so excuse my English at times. I am from Ireland. I've been out in Australia this is my second venture out to Australia, and I came out here 10 years ago. And that was probably when I first came out to Australia, that has opened up the doors for me basically to travel around and to do what I do now. So basically I came out here in 2010, and I was someone that was just searching for a purpose. I was searching for what it is I really wanted to do. I was an electrician by trade, Sparky, as you would call it here, and came out to Perth, had friends living out here. A lot of Irish people had immigrated out to Australia, and I came out here with the vision, I suppose. Never planned to be here for so long, I suppose, and I never expected the journey that I have gone on. But I went out to the Rugby World Cup in 2011, had met a guy that came out for the Rugby World Cup as well. We came out travelling, another Irish lad, and he had actually been to Thailand on a 6-month training holiday.
Just pause there. For those that don't know, the Rugby World Cup was in New Zealand in 2011.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a cracker, mate.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so out to New Zealand for the Rugby World Cup, met this guy, taught me about Thailand. I've obviously heard about Thailand, but never for training purposes. And yeah, he'd done Muay Thai and so forth, but he'd been there for 6 months, and I was like, oh my God, this is something I'd love to do. Now, I wouldn't have been in physical condition, put it that way, going back 10 years ago. And I suppose that planted a seed in my head, and a little Google search about a year and a half later, when I decided that I was going to go do this, I'd actually got a mining gig. And of course, out here in Western Australia, mining had been pretty popular, and I decided I was very fortunate that I got a job through that with an Irish company while I was an electrician. Decided
that was booming, man. That was booming, like in the 2010s and for like 5-6 years or so.
Oh, it was absolutely, it was amazing, like, because it was an opportunity to actually, make good money. I suppose something I never had in my life. But then I suppose after about a year and a half doing that, decided, okay, I needed a chance. I wanted to go do this fitness holiday in Thailand. Didn't know anything about anywhere, and Google search threw up Tiger Muay Thai. And yeah, so my first venture out to Tiger Muay Thai, 2013, and went out. Didn't know anything about nutrition or about fitness, but I just knew that when I got out there and what I seen around me, especially at Tiger was probably the only gym on the street at that time where people were going on site to eat. We know now it's a lot more popular. And did 8 weeks of training there, and lo and behold, on my last day that I was there was a coach there. Jenna was her name at the time. That's going back to 2013. Mm-hmm. And Jenna says to me at the end of my time there that she said, "You'd be a really good coach. Would you like to stay here and like be an assistant coach?" And man, I was shell shocked. So I was when someone had said to me, because like I was never into any of this. And I had done the Muay Thai for a while, but it was the fitness, the strength and conditioning that I ended up doing most of. And that's what I enjoyed doing. And then that's when I knew, well, if I was to continue on the health and fitness aspect, it would be in strength and conditioning in some way, because that's what I enjoy doing. And unfortunately, I refused that offer because I didn't have my citizenship in Australia. Life was good in Australia, and like as much as I would love to have stayed in Thailand at the time, I couldn't say yes to it. And that was actually, I was on the flight home that evening when I was asked that a couple of hours beforehand. I was asked that question. So when I'm back to Australia, still doing the mining, decided to do an online PT course with AIPT here in Australia. And again, time goes by, and you still kind of figure out what you want. You have a good lifestyle in Australia. Then eventually I get my PT cert, and I actually get my citizenship after about 5 years. And the mining industry.
What year was this?
In 2015. This was.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I was just turning 30 years of age. I think,
29. Just kind of getting your shit together and figuring out where you want to go.
Exactly. And to be like, it's like, if I don't do this now, like if I want to be a fitness coach or any aspect, I kind of need to push this now, because I'm not exactly getting any younger. And so I did. Once I got my citizenship, I decided that a trip to Thailand might have been the best thing for me again. And a couple of things happened, but I went back on the side. Went back training, and then Unit 27 had opened, and luckily enough I did a lot of my training in between Tiger and Unit, and then a position became available at Unit 27, and I was lucky enough and fortunate enough. The dream was, obviously, I'd love to have always lived in that side of Phuket after my first trip, and I got the chance to settle down, work at Unit, and thankfully I spent 3 incredible years there just up the road from you. And so like, we're well familiar with each other. So we are at this stage, and from there on, and I suppose then 3 years in Thailand, decided to take a break and to move on, and ended up in Bali, and then coronavirus hit after I just get settled after 9 months in Bali, and now we're here in Perth, Western Australia again, which I didn't expect to be here for this long, but trust me, it's honestly been great to be back.
Yeah. I've got some friends in Perth, man, and I'm in group threads with them and stuff, and the things that they're talking about, like they've got a lot of freedom to kind of bounce around, do whatever they want without too many restrictions. Obviously can't really leave the state or anything like that, so I'd imagine that you're quite grateful for that. Oh,
100%. Yeah, it's like we've had the freedom, to be able to travel down south there to see a lot of Western Australia the last couple of months. I think after the first 5 weeks I had been here, yes, I had to do the quarantine, which was acceptable. And like, I think in the 5 weeks after that, I had seen more of Western Australia and done more in those 5 weeks than I had done in 5 years of doing mining work, So I think
100%.
Maturity comes with age, and you just realize how much this place does have to offer.
Yeah, that's it, man. Your values start changing, right? You're not so much looking to go out and get on the piss and, fucking go on benders on the weekend and things like that. You're like, all right, I'm going to get out in nature. I'm going to go hiking, and I'm going to go on, go down to the river, and I'm going to go and check out all the vineyards and all that type of stuff. Now, there was a period of time where you actually ended up in Mallorca in Spain. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Mallorca. So,
Tell me that story.
Yes, so basically, after I'd left the mining industry, after I decided, okay, I need to take a break, I actually went back to Ireland, and I wasn't actually going back to Ireland to work to work as such as a fitness instructor, but I'd actually went to go set up a business with InBody. InBody are the body fat analysis machines, and I seen here in Australia they were very prominent, and I'd been using DEXA scanners and so forth. And I was like, oh, the fitness industry in Ireland was kind of taken off at the time, and I was like, oh, maybe it might be a good idea to buy, to invest in one of these machines and to get into the fitness industry in a way. When I got home, I actually went to board a plane from Ireland to England, and that flight got cancelled. And lo and behold, 2 days after that had actually happened, I got a phone call from Dale. He runs Unit 27, and he was starting a gym in Mallorca in Spain. And I decided that I would he rang me and he was like, would you be interested in coming down here? And I was like in my own head, I want to do something, but then I was like, yes, I always wanted to work in a gym as a fitness instructor. And then it was like in Mallorca. So I was like, do you know what? I have the time. I have a chance now to go do it, give it a trial and see what happens. So yeah, I went down. I was actually 30 years of age at the time. I'd never done a PT. I'd never actually worked in a gym. And yeah, the gym was located. If people that are familiar with Mallorca, there's two spots. There's Santa Ponsa and there's Magaluf. And these are the two probably European destinations where a lot of Irish people and a lot of English people would go, not for fitness, put it that way, yeah. And so we had a gym there. What was the name of it at the time? I can't even name what we had called it. But I spent
Block HQ or something?
Block HQ, sorry, yes, exactly, yeah. Jeez, you know
fucking even I know that, mate.
I was like, I'm having my head just going around in circles. What's the name of it? Yeah, Block HQ, massive. It was It was actually a massive gym. It was huge. It was very big for the island. But I suppose, look, I was 30 years of age, and what I kind of expected, I wanted the lifestyle that I had in Thailand, from this. That's what I was expecting, I wanted what you see from Tiger and from Unit is that you have new people coming in every week. The street is booming. It's all health and fitness. There's the distractions. Yes, we're close to Patong when we're on the side, but you know yourself, it's very rarely, let's for the audience say, very rarely we would actually venture in there. So you are kept in the bubble out there, and it is a great environment to put yourself in for a fitness holiday. But I suppose, yeah, Mallorca, it was for 3 months I was there, and then I just decided after about 3 months, I was like, this isn't working out for me, whether I was jumping the gun or not. Like I was 30 years of age, but I was like, yeah, it's just, this isn't working for me. So I went back to Ireland, tail between my legs, and I was thinking, geez, what am I going to do now? But after a bit of time of settling in Ireland, I gave up on the idea with the InBody machine, and I was like, you just kind of don't know what to do with yourself when you think you failed, basically. Now, I knew myself I didn't fail, but I was telling myself that the reason that I failed was probably because of me. But no, I was like, it's just not what I wanted. And, understanding your values at the time, I didn't know anything about that either, but I just knew in my heart this wasn't for me. And I ventured home, and then I decided, you know what, I'll just go back to Thailand and see what's happening in Thailand again.
Yeah, man, cool. Let's talk about that for a minute, because that's a conversation that not many people have with themselves. A lot of people just kind of float through life and don't really ask if what they're doing is actually bringing them fulfillment. Like a lot of people say, oh, just do whatever makes you happy. I disagree with that. Like, happiness is an emotion, right? Like, I think you should do the things that bring you fulfillment. I think that you should do things that, bring achievement, a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, a sense of achievement. And that's ultimately where happiness comes from. Was there something that stood out for you that kind of brought your attention to not wanting to be there, or realizing that that's not the lifestyle that you wanted to live?
Yeah, so I guess when I was there, it was just the aspect of a lot has to fall into place. You need to have the right team. You need to have the right people. Now, there was a few people in the team that were fine, but I suppose, and I can say it was we had investors in the gym that weren't probably living up to my values and so forth. And we could see that while we were running the gym, and it just wasn't for me. And I realized, you know, I suppose I had never done the work on myself to be like, this isn't for me. The only time I'd really kind of had the experience was when we had done the mining, and I had enough of it, and I just knew it wasn't for me anymore. I was having that kind of a feeling again, and an emotion, you could say. And I was just like, you know what? I was man enough to stand up for myself before and be like, this isn't for me. I've had enough of this. Like, I want to step away from it when that came with the mining. And then when it just happened in Spain as well, I was just, look, this isn't for me. I don't think I'm on the right path with this, you know, or whatever the case may be. But what I also knew was that if this was Thailand and what I had experienced in Thailand through my times, I'd probably been out to Thailand 2 or 3 times as well after the first stint, just for like week-long trips. And every time you go back to that site, there's just the feeling, the people, and everything else that goes with it. And in Spain, I suppose, the people weren't coming like I thought they would. It was new, but then again, it takes time. I suppose I was looking for the quick fix, thinking that we'd have a full gym within about a week or two. That was never going to happen. And yeah, so I just decided that wasn't for me.
Yeah, fair, man. There's something I want to touch on there as well is a lot of people have tried to replicate this gym model in other areas of the world. And it's very fucking difficult to do. And the reason being is that for anyone who hasn't been to Soi Thai in Geelong in Phuket, Thailand, is like, it's 1.5 kilometer long street that's full of fucking gyms. There's like 10 to 12 gyms, you know, strength and conditioning gyms. There's mixed martial arts gyms. There's BJJ. There's Muay Thai. Everything. And, you know, the entire street is catered towards health and fitness. Like, it's difficult to get shitty food, unhealthy food. You know, the entire street is basically built around the gyms, because the gyms are what bring people in, and it's a destination. People literally come to Thailand, to Soi Thai, to train, and that's how I ended up there the first time. You know, I was backpacking through Southeast Asia, and I'd spent a month on the road. I'd done Malaysia, had gone over to Patong in Phuket, and I was like, fuck, man, I've been on the road for a month. I'm, you know, drinking piss. I'm just feeling sluggish. I'm not feeling good about myself. And I had a couple of mates that had been to Tiger Muay Thai previously, so I got in contact with them, and I was like, sweet. So I called Tuk over and you know, spent a week training, and then continued traveling through Southeast Asia. Went over to Europe for 3 months. I spent 6 months on the road, and then on the way home, I was like, well, we've been in Europe, like, eating and drinking, like, let's pull into Tiger Muay Thai and train again. And every year, man, so I came twice in 2013. I was like, this is somewhere I want to live. This is somewhere I want to be. Set myself up for 6 months to a year, live and work here. Yeah. And then over the years, you know, I kept coming back. I had my own strength and conditioning business, PT business in Tasmania, in Australia. And every year I'd, you know, take 3 or 4 months off and go traveling with my ex-girlfriend, and she'd go to India or Bali or something and do some, you know, coursework with yoga or something. Yeah. And I'd come to Thailand and I'd spend a month here, and I'd train and go to the beach in the afternoon. Like, I'd train in the morning and, you know, work on my online coaching business, write up PDF documents for my clients, write up programs, do courses and things like that, and then I'd go to the beach in the afternoon. It was a fucking awesome lifestyle, man. But, you know, it is a destination gym, so trying to replicate this business model in other areas of the world, it's very difficult, and so many people, so many businesses have failed trying to do that. Yeah, that is the case. And, like, you know, when I was there on the street, it's the feeling you get when you get onto the site, let's call it, you know, that's what it's called. And that's what I love to refer it by. And I think when people have tried to replicate it, you know, people from all over the world come, they see the street, they see the gyms, they see the community, the vibe is on another level. And, you know, a lot of people, I suppose 99% of people are like solo travelers when they get there, and then they're free of anything, like, you know, no judgment, no anything else. And it's easy to do what you need to do. You know, we don't need to sell it any more than it's already been sold. It's like, it has everything you actually need on a street that's 1.5 kilometers long, you know. And you know, when you go to other places, you have the people that have come, they've seen it. You'd have businessmen, you have everything, businessmen, teachers, nurses, just general people that just want a holiday. And, you know, some people will come for a week or two and realize how much it is good for their health and be like, okay, I'm staying. Like, how many times have you seen someone go down to immigration and say, no, I haven't left, you know, or even due to leave tomorrow or this evening, it's like, no, I can't leave. And we keep coming back, and there is a reason. You can't
by the reason why everyone keeps coming back, because the people are there, the gyms are there, you know what you're getting yourself into, you know the style of training, you know the restaurants, you know the food, and the accommodation is on another level.
Yeah, I think it's the environment as well, man.
Yeah.
Like, so many people come from all over the world for many, many different reasons, but for a lot of the same reasons. It's always to better themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's to break drug addictions, and sometimes it's to lose fucking 50 kilos or whatever, you know, work through a relationship breakdown or whatever it might be. Everyone's there for different reasons, but a lot of the same reasons. And it's one of those things that the environment is so positive, man. You know, like I said, it's a lot of people come and they don't have the same stresses that they have at home, and they don't have to worry so much about, you know, the day-to-day stresses that life brings. They don't have all of those distractions, and I think that's why the business model works so well here, and that's also the reason why it doesn't work in other locations. It's because, you know, you can't replicate these conditions, you can't replicate this environment, you know, on a day-to-day basis. Trying to live that as your life every day, you know, it is a destination. And it is, you know, let's talk about that, because it's obviously different traveling through here compared to living here. What was the differences that you noticed yourself?
I suppose when you do mention about the environment, I suppose I would have been a bit blind to the fact when I went there as well, even to work, to live there, when I decided this is where I wanted to stay, was, you know, I was still trying to figure my stuff out as well. And I have this saying in my head, and I've said it to a few people as well. It's like, why does no one will come on a fitness holiday because everything is okay? You know, if everything is okay, a fitness holiday is probably not where you're going to go on. But the more I was there, and over the years, I realized, you know, just like you said, like the stresses of work. Like, yes, I had the stresses of doing the mining, and then I would come to Thailand. But you forget you're nearly a mirror of the people you meet. And I was blind to the fact of why people were coming to train so much, or why people were returning, because probably I didn't get to know people enough on, I suppose, on an emotional level. You know, they come in, they want to be pushed, you give that to them. And then when you're finished coaching, like, you can't catch up with the amount of people that come through that gym or any gym on the street on a day-to-day business, or else you would have a full-time job outside of the gym as well, you know. So it's very hard. It's only after, I believe, after a couple, like maybe a year and a half of me being there, that I realized, okay, people have really stressful jobs, and we're very fortunate that we are now living the life that we kind of put out for ourselves by living and coaching in Thailand. And then it's a lot easier to communicate with people on that level, and, you know, to figure out what it is you can do better to make their experience more enjoyable while they are here. So yeah, that was definitely something that took me quite a while to figure out while I was there. And then, yeah, being on the street, the difference, I suppose, between working there and, you know, you're working, you know, have a full-time job, and, you know, you get your 2 feet around the ground, and you are there to improve people's lives. And it's like, I couldn't believe that I was the one that had that job. You know, when we went into Tiger, first of all, you meet all the coaches and you see the job they're doing, you're like, oh my God, how will I, you know, how are these people? Because you put them all on a pedestal, like we do, and rightfully so. I wouldn't say anyone should put me in a pedestal, but, you know, it was great to see those people that were standing in front of me telling me what to do, improving my life on a day-to-day basis. And having that job that we do have there, like, you don't even call it a job, it's a passion, you know. And yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, and it's something I will never ever forget, and hopefully I will continue to do in other areas of the world.
Yeah, man, you made a really good point there about it being a passion. You know, this is something that I fucking love. This is something that I kind of fell into after my army career. You know, I was like, what do I want to do with myself? I enjoy training, and I enjoy coaching people through training. And again, tying back into what you said before, a lot of people come from these stressful lives, these stressful jobs, and they come to Tiger or they come to the Soy, and, you know, they want to fucking work hard and they want to train hard. And here's the thing, they can when they're in that environment, because now they've, you know, all of the other stresses and distractions of life have faded away. So now they can push themselves hard during the training sessions. And, you know, like you said, people book a week and then they end up staying for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever, you know, and it's a really fucking good lifestyle. because, those distractions and stresses have melted away and they are in a good environment with good people, eating good food, getting sunshine, going to the beach, training well, looking after themselves, etc. And something that I realized as a coach very, very quickly was, it's all well and good to get people results whilst they're in Thailand for 2 weeks, but my fucking job is to teach them the tools and the techniques and the strategies. Give them a good time, give them some hard workouts whilst they're in Thailand, but also give them some strategies that they can use whilst they're at home, educate them on these other aspects that is going to allow them to, manage the other 23 hours of their day rather than just hammering themselves during that 1 hour training session. I mean, if they're going to hammer themselves in that 1 hour training session, a lot of people want to do that, then we need to manage the other 23 hours. We need to make sure that they're getting enough sleep, they're drinking enough water, they're eating the right, right amount of nutrients in the right ratios and all that type of stuff. Now you're doing some online coaching now, is that right?
Well, I'm delving into it. I've been doing, I suppose, a couple of courses with the last year. I just wanted to do something different outside of health, outside of fitness and nutrition, because that's where all the eggs were. You talk about the 23 hours in the day, probably four hours a day would have been spent doing training and eating, you know what I mean, every day in Thailand. Then the other 24 or the other 20 would be done relaxing and just resting, you said, going to the beach and just living a life of, at the time, perfectly fine, no care in the world. I didn't care about anything. Truthfully, I just cared about coaching, training, nutrition, and having a good lifestyle. And that's all. They were probably just the way I viewed it, but I never really looked at the other areas of my life as to why I would. I was very fortunate that was our, we're living our passion. Whereas other people, to be a good coach, you need to understand that other people have different lifestyles. And definitely coming back to Perth this year has shown me, since I have started back working in other gyms, that, people are working here and they have lives and they have children. I didn't get to see a lot of that when I lived in Thailand, people would have come maybe as singles. Yes, you would have had a couple of people that would have brought babies, but I probably didn't understand at the time that, other people would have serious stressors. But definitely coming back and being able to work now and live in Perth and see the lifestyle that people do live here, you're in the city, it has really opened my eyes. And I was lucky enough that I've had a bit of guidance since the lockdown, how to improve people's lifestyles and how to improve my own lifestyle, overall lifestyle. And that's been a major learning curve in the last 9 months to a year for me.
That's awesome, man. That's something I want to touch on a little bit more detail. What are the lessons that you've learned and what have you noticed going from a place like Thailand? You went to Bali for a little bit as well. And now you've ended up back in Perth. Talk to me about that transition and then what the difference is, dealing with different clients in different demographics in different areas. Yeah,
so I guess at Unit 27, having spent 3 years there, and if people are unaware of what Unit 27 does, is we basically run strength and conditioning classes. Now, it's mainly a lot of conditioning. I suppose a lot of our the onus is on that conditioning and how intense those conditioning sessions can be and so forth. And that's what it's probably prived on. We have our strength classes and we've rapid fire and so forth. But then I suppose once the training I used to do myself at Unit 27 and on the side on Big Buddha, myself and Jamie Foxx would be running up and down Big Buddha with tires and kettlebells and whatnot. And, it's probably unconventional, but that's what Thailand allows you to do. People would be questioning, what is it you're doing? But I just do what I enjoy doing in a way. So I suppose the way I coached, and, it's high intensity kind of stuff. And it's you're pushing people hard for that hour. And then you decide that you're going to leave the side and you're going to go on a new adventure because you feel like you just like the chance to grow. That was my intention, So when I left and I did a bit of traveling, went to Bali. Bali was on the cards. You've seen a lot of people, yourself, come to the site and then they see it's rainy season and they decide to go to Bali, and we get to see what kind of a life, you get an insight into what they're doing. There's a lot of beach clubs. It's definitely, compared to the side, there's more. I thought there'd be more going on in Bali, but it's more of the fun side, definitely.
The social side,
the social side, massively.
You go to, you go to the gym to make friends, and then you go out with those friends later.
Let's be truthfully honest here now. We will not sugarcoat it. You go from Thailand and you train in Thailand, then you go to Bali and you train, you're only training to burn off what you drank the night before. That is the God's honest truth, and I'm not even going to sit here and sugarcoat it, okay? So that's what it is. Like, everyone is based in Canggu. It is more of a lifestyle. There's more people on holidays. There's more distractions. And I spent 6 months that I spent there. But like, I had a great time there. I was working. I was trying to find my feet, but again, I was probably searching for that unit 27, what I was used to, how I could push people and so forth. Tried a different couple of gyms, a few good gyms now in fairness, but then I suppose I did train, and this is where I think I learned as well, was I trained in a gym where you had a lot of Indonesian women. And I suppose the way I treated people at unit 27, you couldn't really treat these people that way. And I was like, geez, why don't they want to be pushed? But like, I'm like, they just want to come in and they just want to move, and being a coach and understanding that after a while, to me was like, okay, I've only been in this fitness industry for 5 years, it's been short. I'm still only 34, so like,
can we pause there for a second?
Yep.
Because you started, did you start at unit 27? That was like your first coaching job?
Yeah, so Mallorca was the first one for 3 months, and then
okay.
And then unit 27. But by the time I got to unit 27, I never even had done a personal training session with anyone. It was just group fitness classes, So I pride myself. I love the group fitness stuff. I do. I love having a big group of people in front of me. And even when people ask me, am I a PT or am I? Like, I say, yes, I am a PT, but I do love, my passion is group fitness stuff and getting groups of people together. And however I can bring that together in more aspects, that's what I want to do. Anyway, I went to Bali, tried a couple of gyms there. It is a bit more of a social scene. The idea that I had going back 4 years ago to bring InBody to Ireland, I ended up bringing InBody to Bali. So I set up InBodies on Bali. And look, that was just 2 weeks before the coronavirus hit. So look, timing wasn't exactly ideal. But again, the gyms there, like we said, it is definitely, people are more there for a holiday when people come to visit. Yes, you have expats that are living there also. And they, I suppose there's a lot more of the digital nomad kind of work going on there as well, where a lot of people are settled. So yeah, that was a good insight to have. And again, it was just a change of pace from the side. And again, I learned from that as well. And that's the idea, is that when you go somewhere and you do something, that you do learn from that experience, and traveling does give you that experience.
And what about the how the demographic changed when you got back to Australia, and how you had to change your coaching style?
Yeah, so I suppose when I got back here then, and I came back in March, that's just when kind of the COVID situation was kind of getting out of hand. And I was very fortunate I had my citizenship here in Australia for my first stint. And I came back, and like, not knowing that I would be here for so long, I didn't think I would be here. Like, I thought maybe a month or two, and then I would go back maybe to Bali again. And then that wasn't happening, and I decided, okay, do you know what? Look, I'll get back into I gave training a bit of a break as well then. I was at home doing home workouts and getting the use of resistance bands while everything was kind of on the shutdown, and that was great. And then I was like, look, it's time to have a look around, see what's available. And the gyms here are fantastic. The people here are training hard. The gyms have everything you need. Even some of the biggest gyms in Bali still struggle with having equipment, so it's like, it's still coming here. I realized that, Australia's, or Perth, for instance, a lot of money in Perth. People are willing to spend it on the gyms, because otherwise people are going to other gyms. There's a gym every block basically around here. And yeah, the gyms I've worked in, then I suppose, I just got to see that the biggest shock I got, and you'd probably see this as well, is that, when you finish a class in Thailand, people are hanging around. People are hanging around for the chat, and it's great, and you get to talk to people, and you get to ask them about the class, and you just get to know people as well. I was in here, and it was probably my first day in the job, and I was in there like 5 o'clock in the morning. No, we don't start our classes in Thailand at 5 o'clock in the morning. We know that. They're usually at about 7 or 8. And after the first class, like 1 hour class, turned around, went to the toilet, came back out, gym empty. Everyone gone. No one hanging around. I was like, I actually asked myself the question, and the other guy was like, where's everyone gone? And he was like, to work, I suppose. And I was like, shit, it's like no one actually hangs around.
They're going to start their day, bro.
Yeah, they are And, obviously now I can see that, like, people just get in, get out, in and out. They want, it's a big change of pace here, but you've got to understand that people have other stressors. And even when I talk to these people and the high, like the jobs that they do have and the stressors that they have in life, it took me back to like the time that I was doing the mining. I was like, oh, Jesus, these people have these every day as well. Like, you know, I was lucky enough to have the break and live in Thailand and live in Bali, and now I'm back. And I believe that obviously I can I'm learning from people every day when I see this, and I'm like, Jesus, it's something it never dawned on me. Or even I went back playing football again. You know, we have Irish football team and everyone has kids. And it was just, so it's good to see how people kind of live their lives as they get older then as well, you know. So, that was a kind of a culture shock to me, tell you the truth.
And that rounds out part 1 of a 90-minute conversation with Adrian Allen. If you guys enjoy the content, please make sure you tag us on social media stories. Ado is at AIDOALAN, Ado Allen. I am at coach_Kobes, KOBES. Tag us in your stories so that we can also share that. And any 5-star ratings and reviews are much appreciated, guys. The next episode will be dropping on Monday, part 2, with my conversation with Adrian Allen. Much love, guys. Peace.